Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and this is the iPhone 6. It's finally here. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus came out at the same time, and I'll be covering the 6 Plus a little bit later. But I figured I would give you guys my first impressions, my first thoughts on this new iPhone form factor. I have a lot to say about the hardware. iOS 8 is also now on this guy, but I'm not going to do an unboxing. I'm pretty sure you've already seen what's in the box of the new iPhone, so let's just get straight into my thoughts on it. So if Apple was going for the world's most minimal smartphone packaging, I think they've nailed it here, although they totally could have just run out of printer ink or something. But either way, the stuff you get inside the box is about the same as any other iPhone, so there's that. In fact, the one thing that I actually did notice about the packaging was the special cutout for the iPhone's new protruding camera, but we'll get to that in a second. So this is the iPhone 6, and it's probably going to look very familiar, from the 4.7-inch screen size, to the design, to the thinness, and the button placement. And if you guys remember the video I did on the silver iPhone 6 dummy earlier this year, this new phone actually matches that dummy in a lot of ways, almost to a T, with the ports, the camera, the flash, and everything. Even the paint on the back around the antenna, which I didn't exactly think was legit, is exactly the same here. And this looks a little different on the different colored iPhones. I think it looks much more subtle on the space gray, but this happens to be the gold one, so the paint lines stick out a bit more. I hope to get another subdued look on a different color iPhone very soon. But my immediate impressions with feel in the hand is this phone, first of all, it's strikingly light. Like, really, really light, much lighter, and of course thinner than the iPhone 5S. It's actually only 129 grams, which is crazy light in the smartphone scale of things. And another crazy measurement is it's freaking thin. It's 6.9 millimeters thin. Now, here's the thing about the iPhone 6's thinness. All of this comes with the trade-off of, number one, a small battery, again, and number two, the protruding camera lens out the back. It might not seem like a big deal at first, but you'll hear a lot of other people talking about this. Sticking out the back means the phone won't sit flat on a table anymore. It means the lens will be the first thing to scratch since it's sticking out the back, it's protruded, it's unprotected, and it's just unsightly. It doesn't look as good. I don't think I can possibly be the only one who would rather just have a slightly thicker iPhone 6 so that the camera doesn't stick out and the battery is bigger, but, you know, maybe iPhone 6S. Either way, the thing about this phone is the rounded edges remind me a lot of the HTC One M8, in that in adding all metal and rounding it around here, it makes it a lot slipperier compared to the predecessor. So basically the iPhone 5S, you had that flat edge that you could hold onto and manipulate the phone in your hand however you want. It was a lot easier. But with the iPhone 6 being rounded off, I feel like it's a lot easier to slip or fall or drop without a case. And it's funny because someone's actually already dropped their iPhone on day one. But that's another story. On the front of the iPhone 6 is the main story, which a lot of people are talking about. It's the big feature. It's a brand new 4.7-inch display. It's not the 5.5-inch of the iPhone 6 Plus, but it's a modest improvement here over the 5S. And it has this odd resolution. Apple calls it Retina HD, but that doesn't really matter. It's 1334 by 750. So in reality, just a little bit above 720p. So it's the same pixel density as the iPhone 5S, and it is a pretty nice looking display. It's very, very bright outdoors. It can get very, very dim indoors. It's basically what we'd come to expect from Apple and their integration. It's great viewing angles, great color reproduction. From what I can see, it's a great Apple display. Of course, the bezels around the display are a little bit bigger than some other phones, like the Moto X, for example, that also have a 4.7-inch display, since Apple needs room for the home button and a matching forehead for the chin, so it's up to them to decide when they want to slim down the bezels. But right now, it's definitely a nice size bump compared to other 4.7-inch screen phones. So iOS 8 seems to do just fine with this new resolution. In fact, I think iOS 8 is the first version of iOS to not stutter when I pull down into Spotlight search. That might be a minor thing for most people, but that always stuttered before iOS 8. So I was pretty happy about that on the iPhone 5S, and I'm pretty happy about that on the iPhone 6. No, but it's definitely going to be fun to play around with iOS 8 a bit more. Obviously, a bunch of other phones on 6 Plus, which is kind of weird. But yeah, there we go. The iPhone 6 comes with a 1400 by 1 contrast ratio, whereas the iPhone 6 Plus comes with a 1300 by 1 contrast ratio. By the way, the iPhone 5S came with a 800 to 1 contrast ratio, so huge improvement in both models, basically. So far we have three main differences between those two phones. We have the display size, we have the resolution, and then we have the contrast ratio, which, again, all of those things are different between the iPhone 6 Plus and the iPhone 6. But we have two more differences in terms of design. So the first one is that the iPhone 6 is actually thinner than the iPhone 6 Plus. So the iPhone 6 comes at 6.9 millimeters thick, which is really, really, really thin, compared to the 7.6 millimeters thickness of the iPhone 5S, or the 9 millimeters of the iPhone 5C. And the iPhone 6 Plus comes with a thickness of 7.1 millimeters. So yeah, it's a bit thicker than the iPhone 6, but it's still thinner than the iPhone 5S, not to mention the iPhone 5C, obviously. Now, the bad news, however, is that both the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus are a bit heavier than the iPhone 5S, the previous model. So the iPhone 6 comes in at 129 grams, or 4.55 ounces, whereas the iPhone 6 Plus comes in at 172 grams, or 6.07 ounces, compared to the 112 grams, or 3.95 ounces, that the iPhone 5S came with. So in terms of the display and the design, these are basically all the differences, so 5 differences so far. But we have a couple of more differences between those two, and there's actually a pretty big one, and that is the camera.
Now, the iPhone 5S had an amazing camera. The iPhone 5S actually had the second best camera in the world, basically after the Nokia Lumia 1020. The iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, they both have a really improved camera over the iPhone 5S, which means that they both should take amazing shots. Now, the iPhone 6 Plus has one extra feature over the iPhone 6, and that is the optical image stabilization. So what this means is that the camera on the iPhone 6 Plus uses the gyroscope to stabilize the lens. Basically, when you have shaky hands or you have Parkinson or something, the shots will look crystal clear. But that's not the only advantage of having optical image stabilization. The true advantage is low light photography. So since you have optical image stabilization, the shakiness of the image will be greatly reduced, which means that